There you have it. What's going on, man?
Man, nothing new to it at all, man. Just sitting here preparing for yet another successful day in health and fitness world, getting America healthy, one person at a time.
So we got our first podcast going, and we don't even have a name for it. And I think that it'd be pretty dope if we get some of the people involved in the challenges and some of our followers involved with coming up with a name, you know. And I always go back to, I don't know, for some reason, when it comes to me and you, I always think of Big Chuck and Lil Jon, or The Rock and Kevin Hart. And if you can think of it as a visual, it's always a big guy and a little guy. But definitely want to get, you know, our audience involved with a dope name, a dope thing for our podcast, because we got a lot of stuff lined up. Definitely going to be giving just versatile information, education, and just value to what it is that Heat Extreme brings to the platform. And one of the things I always like to acknowledge is just the education side coming from your end. I think a lot of people don't realize what they're getting into when they get into fitness. They kind of, you know, think, oh, I just need to work out and possibly eat right or eat better or eat healthier, but really truly don't have the education side of what it is they're doing. That would be like going to school just to go to school and not understanding anything that you're learning and getting out in the world and being completely ignorant after you get a diploma or degree. But yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
Man, definitely. You know, when it comes to health and fitness, it's interesting because I believe that we all must first understand what our goals are for even entertaining the idea of trying to take control of our health and fitness. And then from there, once you understand what your both implicit and explicit goals are, then you can better formulate a plan to try and reach those goals. As I was saying to you offline here when we were talking, it was different types of people who do come into health and fitness. One of them we talked about was the guy who's just simply trying to stay alive because his blood scores are bad or his blood pressure is too high. The other person in the gym is the performance athlete, that person who could and probably very well will use their health and fitness for a larger reasoning on behalf of performance, that is, perhaps an NCAA, NFL, NBA athlete, or just a simple weekend warrior who likes to play pickup games of basketball. The third person is just like me and you, I think, primarily at this point in our age, in our life, at our age, and that is aesthetics. We want to look a certain way. But between those three different types, those are pretty much the body of health and fitness, you know. Now, of course, within those three categories, there are specifics that we may want, but by and large, those three people are who we're talking to right now. You'll oftentimes hear me refer to bodybuilding as well. That's because bodybuilding is going to pretty much cover the bulk of who our people are, which is those who want to elevate muscle mass and at the same time lower body fat. To what extreme they'll do that will dictate how competitive they are. But ultimately here, Darrell, we all want two things. So pretty much look better, you know? If some of us do want to stay alive, but for the most part, man, most people will benefit from that. So you're right. Education is how we're going to use that to get them there.
Absolutely. So, and then I think a lot of people come just for the results. You know, they're looking to look better or tone up, lose a little bit of weight, and not really understanding what that looks like.
Yeah. Which would be aesthetics, right? That's the visual.
There you go. So to get into what we're going to talk about today is anatomy of fitness, of challenges, the three keys to success. And when you think of the anatomy of fitness and challenges and the three keys to success, like what are some of the top three things that people should be worrying about, thinking about, and pretty much on the forefront?
Yeah, the three keys to success. Once these three keys are put into position, you can pretty much rock with it and don't worry about anything else because you know you have an actual game plan. The first thing of concern is going to always be training your cardiovascular system. because your cardiac muscle, which is led by your heart, is very important because that's going to, well, keep you alive. The cool thing is while you're training that, though, you're going to be serving another purpose, which is burning fat off of your body. So establish whatever version of cardio you want to do. And then from there, go with it. Just make sure whatever you choose for your cardio, that it's not going to cause any what I call collateral damage. Collateral damage would be like for instance, in war, you have, we want to blow up an enemy base, right? So we want to blow up just this enemy base. We don't want to blow up the school outside the base, right? If we were to go in here and blow up this enemy base, but at the same time get the school caught up, well, the school would be called collateral damage. So if you're trying to get your cardiovascular trained, trying to get your heart trained, you don't want to do so at the expense of beating your knees up or destroying your hips. That will be called collateral damage. We've actually got the goal done, but in doing so, we destroy things around it, is what I would be concerned about when it comes to establishing the first key, which is cardio. The second one would be strength training, right? That's the muscles of our body, the actual structure part. You have your bones, then you have the muscles that innervate that. That's why it's called the musculoskeletal system, correct?
Right.
The cool thing about that is, man, that covers a whole ton because the process of building muscle, specifically certain, major body parts, the process of training that muscle is going to burn lots of calories. Right? Once the muscle has been thoroughly trained, it has to heal itself. So that process also is going to burn additional calories. And once that muscle has come back stronger or repaired, well, now that muscle is going to burn calories just because it's there. It's a larger exponential of calorie. And then the ultimate thing is the visual appeal of it. So now that muscle has more of a pop to it. It has more of a separation from the rest of the muscles that were around it, So all this comes from mastering the strength training part of things, training the muscles that are there.
Now when you say pop, I'm sorry, when you say pop to it, and a roundness to the muscle, and this is, I always try to explain to people what toning is and how toning comes into play. And, and I'm pretty sure you hear it on your end as well. Hey, I don't want to lose weight. I just want to tone up. And can you elaborate a little bit more on what toning up is and the difference between toning up and losing weight, or is there even a difference between toning up and losing weight?
So that does go right back to what we were establishing earlier, which is knowing what your goal actually is. With an explicit understanding, I should say. So knowing that you truly want to tone up, know that what you're saying is you truly want to promenade those muscles, make those muscles stand apart more. What does that mean? That means the actual upper shoulder development can be seen separate from the lower half of that arm. Or let's talk about females specifically, who talk about wanting to have well-developed glutes. That comes from developing the glute muscle, and then the glute muscle sits separate from the hamstring muscle that sits below that, right? So now you have a separation of glute. That's the first hump. And then the second hump will be the hamstring. Without that separation, you're going to have one blurring mass. Okay. So now you don't have that tone appearance.
Looking like if I was to imagine, so to give people a visual, let's take a half of a ice cream cone, top half being the glute, bottom half being the leg. And the person who doesn't have the separation or the toning that they're looking for, or the muscle growth that they're looking for, the top half will be the butt. And then as you round off that ice cream cone at the bottom, and it just drops straight down to the leg, there's no development of the leg there, right?
If I got that visual, yeah, it sounds like you're trying to make sure the glute muscle sits separate from the hamstring muscle, So that's what they're trying to explain, right? They're trying to explain the idea of tone. It's just that tone is as a friendly term to use. We sometimes know who we're talking to. So if I was talking to one of my younger males, I say shredded. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or I say ripped. It's
Ripped.
just a term. Yeah. It's just
ripped.
it's just an adjective. So knowing who you're talking to, but whoever you're talking to, the same thing applies, which is going to be ultimately allowing the muscles to sit apart from one another here, and be clearly seen. They're not so clearly seen, however, when they're underdeveloped, or in most instances, they're shrouded or blurred with fat, because a little bit of fat between that glute and that hamstring it disrupts the flow. There's no separation there. Or someone with nice arms, if you will. It's not because the arms are just so big. It's because the separation of the side or lateral deltoid is clearly seen, as opposed to the bicep that sits below it. You know what I mean? The muscles don't have to be big. They have to be clearly separated, you know? So that's I think the referral that they're trying to make, or excuse me, the reference they're making when they say something like toned, you know, just a more friendly way of saying ripped or shredded or easily separated, identifiable.
So will that be, can you identify that with losing weight, or are those two different things?
Well, there's two things happening now. So, weight must also be defined explicitly. Weight can be accounted for in multiple things. If we're talking about a human, weight can be accounted for in fluids. That means blood, a bile within you, you know, by way of urine. You know what I mean? It can also be accounted for with bone mass. It can be accounted for with fat tissue. It can be accounted for with muscle tissue. All these things weigh something. So when I want to lose weight, I have to be explicit on which one of these I'm trying to lose. So when I hear someone say, I want to lose weight, I'm assuming they want to lose the non-functioning weight. That's fat,
Body fat, right.
Yeah, everything else serves a function. You want to keep the fluid, that serves a function. And you want to keep the muscle, because Lord knows that also serves a function. And I really doubt you want to lose any bones. So I guess specifically here, what that person wants to do is lose fat off of their body.
What about the people who say, well, I don't want to lose weight, I just want to tone? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah. Again, I guess that's them having to pause for a moment and be introspective and truly understand what they're wanting to lose. So I would ask them, do you want to lose your femur? Of course, they tell you no. They want to keep that femur. And I say, well, do you want to lose some blood? And they probably tell you no as well. How about losing your biceps? I'm pretty sure they want to keep that also. So what I'm doing is walking them down the list of things that weigh and waiting for them to tell me specifically fat. They're trying to lose weight by way of fat. I think the trick here is that they're sometimes scared to say fat because they know fat could very well be accounted for in breast tissue or in butt tissue, which would be, you know, primarily fat, right? Males have no problem saying, I want to lose fat, because males don't want to deposit or keep any fat anywhere in their body. Versus females who oftentimes want to keep breast and behind. It's just that they must understand that breast and behind are accounted for with a hefty amount of muscle, talking about the glute, and then a little bit of feminine fat to ice it on over, right? And then when it comes to breast tissue, well, that's primarily glandular fatty tissue. So when you lose fat, you're going to very well probably lose some of that also. But don't worry about it. It's going to give you an overall good appearance, period.
I'm glad you touched on that. So, go ahead. I kind of interrupted you on on just the part of, you know, what losing weight and losing fat in, but I think you're getting into the recovery side of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So now as we roll into that third key that must be focused on, of course, we established cardio, we established strength training, which would be the musculoskeletal system. But now the third one is important because the first two are actually contingent upon this third category, which is recovery. Recovery is in two parts. That's going to be your nutrition as well as your rest and recovery or sleep. I'm not going to even speak to sleep too much because sleep is just simply something you must figure out on your own for whatever your life's responsibilities may be. You may have to cut out something to make sure you do get at least 6.5 or more hours of sleep. I can't tell you where to cut out or create more time, but I will tell you, you've got to find that time because 6.5 as imperative. But the nutrition side of things is where I think the complication really comes in at trying to decide how to best recover the body from the first thing you were doing, which was cardio. Also, how to recover the body from the second thing you were doing so diligently, which was strength training. I tell you this, no matter what you choose, there's three things to always be considered. The first one, and this is in rank order, protein. The second one, carbohydrate. The third one being fat. No matter what you do, though, make sure your meal is going to be protein rich. Why? Because the muscles are made of, well, just that, protein. And like anything in life, you're going to have that material to reconstruct or build the overall project, right? Like a red brick house. I don't care how many workers you have. If you don't have enough red bricks, the house can't get bigger. Your muscles are the same way. Without more protein, the muscles can't get any bigger or stronger because the muscles are comprised of protein. The second one's where it gets tricky at, right? That's the carbohydrates. How do you have enough carbohydrate to function the body, but at the same time, though, not have too much carbohydrate? Because then the body's going to want to store the additional. I wish the body just kind of urinated the carbohydrates that we didn't need out, but it doesn't. So we end up having to moderate just enough carbohydrate to function, but not so little that the body begins to go into a stress mode. Carbohydrates are oftentimes overlooked and oftentimes misunderstood, but they're the most important. Not most important, but they're very important. God put animals on pretty much every corner of the earth, right? You find animals everywhere. South America, North America, Africa, and Asia, the same. Carbohydrates are just as abundant if it's the wheat baskets of Europe or the corn you find in North America or the rice paddies of Asia. Carbohydrate is everywhere, but we don't want to overindulge in that carbohydrate. But trust me, it's very much needed, you know? That's where the details lie, you know what I mean? That's where we come in at, and that's where our headaches come in at, right, Darrell? Trying to create the perfect formula for this individual on the right amount of protein and proper amount of carb, and of course, fat falls into position as well.
Which brings us to the second bullet point that we kind of want to focus on is consequence of not focusing on recovery. What would be some of the consequences of just not paying attention to your recovery or not having any type of recovery when you're focusing on, losing weight, toning up, or just your overall fitness?
Absolutely. I think the biggest consequence is probably the most visually obvious consequence, which is the elevation of cortisol. And cortisol is responsible for that center section fat. I don't care who you are. Nobody wants to walk around here with a tire around their midsection. And the response the body has to not receiving enough recovery is it goes into a physiological stress. And this physiological stress elevates that hormone called cortisol. And cortisol is where that belly fat comes in at. So that's the importance of making sure your body doesn't go into a stress mode. Stress mode is easily found, though. If you go to use those mindless idioms everybody says, you go extra hard in the paint for your second key, strength training. That's great. That's cool. You've done a great job at breaking the muscle down. So now you must go home and let the muscle recover. But if you don't give it what it needs to recover, well, you've just done the first part. You've torn the muscle down, but you haven't given it the second part, which is the recovery, right? Once again, let's go back to that house metaphor I was using. If I go into a home to demolish some of the internal walls, I'm going to put the walls back up stronger, more fortified, right? But what good is me getting the house when I'm just destroying the walls and not rebuilding them? That's just the first phase, isn't it? The same thing when it comes to cardio, if you're going to be going hard in the paint, really pushing that body, well, now you go back and replenish the body of what it was depleted of. The good thing is the cardio is going to burn up tons of fat while you're in the action of the cardio, but you got to go home and give the body what it needs to recover or restore the levels that were depleted during that cardio bout. And if all these things aren't being done, recovery, replenishment, the body starts to stress. And there goes cortisol. You know what, Darrell? This is a little sidebar for you here on this one. This is an extreme example. If you look at those TV commercials from back in the day, they still have them playing now sometimes. They have a slow blinking celebrity sitting somewhere in the middle of a third world country with a child, a little fly flying around him, or the child sitting there. And if you notice, that child is emaciated. I'm talking about super hungry looking, but that
Right.
center section, that belly is
Bloated.
bloated. It's sitting out there. It's real distended. Well, that's actually an extreme example of what the body is truly doing. The body must preserve its most vital organs. It detours and makes sure it keeps those vital organs protected. So that child is hungry and as emaciated and wasting as that body may be, it's going to detour and send all levels of fat around that midsection where the most vital parts of your body are. Of course, that's an extreme example, but it's the exact same process at play.
There you go. So when we want to make sure that we're following all three: cardio, strength training, and recovery, we can also cause some type of anxiety to our body by not sticking to those. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And anxiety, I would probably refer to moreover will be stress. I mean, once you have a plan formulated, rock with the plan. You're not sure what to do for cardio. Well, on Sunday night, map out what days and what style of cardio you're going to do. Boom, that's been figured out. Now figure out what you can do for number 2, which is strength training. Now that you know what you're going to do for strength training and what days you're going to do it, and even, dare I say, what time you're going to do it, boom, put that out of the way. Now go ahead and prepare those meals so you know what you're going to have for recovery. So now you got these 3 things in position. Now just simply rock with that plan. If not, if you did not spend the time to map out that explicit plan, but now you're just worried. What do I do for cardio? What do I do for strength training? What do I do to eat? If you mapped all that on Sunday, mapped all that out for yourself on Sunday, you don't have to worry about it anymore. There is no more worrying about what's to come. I think oftentimes we don't map things out. And if we fly by the seat of our pants, we're just worried about what's going to come next. That's the crux of anxiety, isn't it? You're actually wondering about things before they even arrive. But once you go ahead and put a plan in position, you just rock with it. Kind of like driving your car, right? You set your GPS to your goal location and you just roll with it. And don't get me wrong, something may pop up on the road, an accident or something. At that point in time, make those necessary adjustments or perhaps slight detours, but resume the path you originally set out when you were clear-headed. I don't have any anxiety about driving to a location. Why? Because the GPS tells me where to go. I have a plan. I have a roadmap. Same thing when it comes to Sunday night. I say Sunday in regard to the average American having a traditional Monday through Friday job. So you use Sunday night to map out the game plan for the day. Now I don't have to worry about anxiety, I have a plan. I have a roadmap. Now just chill out and rock with it.
So riddle me this. We and this is I for the life of me I can't grasp why you have some people who they'll get a program, they'll get the outline, they'll get the roadmap, they'll get the GPS, and then they'll look and say, you know what? And I have friends like this as well. You get the GPS and they're like, Google Maps says we go here, it's going to take us 20 minutes. You know what? I feel like this is going to take us a long way. Let's go this way. Yeah. Do you have friends like that kind of like look at stuff and it's like, dude, like just follow the map. It's giving us 3 different options: 20 minutes, 21 minutes, 23 minutes. I'm going to go with that 20-minute route. And there's always somebody who kind of just says, you know what? I think that's the long way. They're taking us the long way. They just want us to get lost, like that kind of person.
Absolutely. I think it gets worse with time, though. Yeah, I think it actually gets worse with time. And it's like the blessing, I think, of the information age. The information age gives us a ton of information. So we have it at our fingertips at any beckoning moment. Any beckoning moment. I don't care if you're riding in the passenger seat of your car, or if you're just sitting on the toilet, scrolling through your internet web browser. There's so much information out there that we sometimes overindulge in that information. And it oftentimes gives us a sense of being the professional ourselves. So we have our own opinion we formulated. But let me tell you something. By me being a professional, I definitely believe in professionals. I know that I know that I know what I know. And if I come into someone else's world or someone else's profession, I'm going to yield to their professional opinion. If I go into a roofer's construction site, I'm not going to tell him how to do that. I don't care how much I've Googled it. He is the professional. So I definitely believe in yielding to the professional. Me and you are also health and fitness professionals. So why not yield to the professional opinion? Are there other professionals out there? You're absolutely right. But ultimately here, you got to choose one to stick with. How do you choose one to stick with? I don't know. Go off their results to date. If that guy has some results to show you, then by all means, look at who he has dealt with. That is his resume, right? It's funny because as
Right.
personal trainers, all we are our clients. Our clients are walking billboards. So either the client is a good walking billboard that exemplifies our capabilities, what we're capable of doing, or that client is going to make us look bad. And that's probably why we overwhelmingly pour into who we're dealing with, because I can't stand to have someone walking around saying I'm a product of Ron. I'm thinking to myself, that is not my work. You know what I mean? No more than you would sign your name to a piece of art that you didn't create. If it's, not nice artwork, right? I don't want to take credit
Right.
for that.
Some people do.
But
So
then you're
let's
doing
move.
something, right?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. I guess imitation is the best form of flattery, right? So people
Yeah, but it's
oftentimes
just
want to claim our work,
it can get annoying, but at the same time, it is definitely a flattering moment.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I wanted to move on to is cardio, and I think I get a lot on my end, especially like on one-on-one calls or DMs or emails or just random questions, and they're like, "Yo, what's the best exercise I can do? What's the best cardio I can do to get rid of this belly? Like, I just want to get rid of this belly. So what more can I do to get rid of this belly? Or what's the best exercise or the best cardio to get rid of this belly?" What's your thoughts on that?
Right. So that's very interesting, right? So earlier when I was detailing the three types of people who are in a, in the fitness world, it was the first person who's just trying to get better blood scores, a better blood pressure, reading from their doctor. The second one was like me and you, just here for aesthetics. We want to look better. The third person was a performance athlete, right? Well, these three different people here have different types of cardio that are probably preferred for each one of them. A performance athlete needs a certain kind of a cardio for what he's doing. Let's just take an NFL receiver. He's running 40 yards at a time, 15 yards at a time, 15 yards at a time. So his cardio serves a different function for what he needs the cardio exercise to do. The
Mhm.
cardio that me and you want is very much similar to that of the first guy, which is someone just trying to get a better blood score. What you want to do is be able to get into a cardiac zone that you can maintain for a lengthened period of time. So us being able to do cardio for 15 minutes doesn't really do me and you any good, because our
Right.
primary goal, much like that first guy, is just to lower our blood pressure, lower our body fat levels. So the longer you can stay in that fat burning zone, the better off you are. You're not going to be able to sustain that fat burning zone if you're running at 90% of your maximum heart rate. You just can't
So
maintain that.
let me interrupt you real quick right there.
You
What
good?
what is your fat burning zone? So I know
So
people probably heard you just say that and probably have no idea what a fat
yeah,
burning
so
zone is. What is a fat
So,
burning zone?
so when I start to refer to things like that, man, it's just more so trying to figure out where your body is best suited to
Mm,
continue burning fat, if you will. So, this is not an exact science. It's just an approximation of numbers so people can have a referral point. But we like to say that when you first begin cardio, if you were, let's say, first thing out of the bed in the morning time, the first 15 minutes or so is when you're going to be burning off that residual glucose that was in your blood. And then from that point forward, or from that point onward, I should say, you begin to burn the body's fat reserves. And of course, there's a terminal point to that. You go beyond 55 minutes to 1 hour, and then you run the risk of burning muscle mass instead. So that's what, that target zone is for burning fat.
So so after the 15 minutes of doing cardio, on that 16th minute, I'm starting to burn into fat.
Yeah,
And
approximate.
is there a certain heart rate that I need to be at, or a certain type of level of intensity that one needs to be at? And then the second question would be, if I'm doing 60 minutes of cardio a day or 55 minutes of cardio a day, does that mean if I do any more that I'll be burning into muscle, or can I still do more later on in the day?
Yeah. So the first half of that question is going to be contingent upon who you're actually training with. You are as an example, you are that we all know. You are an example of of a of an experienced or capable athlete who I can push into certain very uncomfortable zones safely and maintain that area of heartbeat. So I could push you at about 85%, and I feel safe to keep you in that zone for more than 30, 35, 40 minutes.
Thank
However,
you, Ron. I
for the
appreciate that.
average, everyone definitely sees that. You know what I mean? So you're definitely someone who's safe to be in that zone. You know what I mean? However, as a referral point, our moms, as healthy as they may be, their cardiac system is not at a point whereby they should be pushing certain levels of sustained, cardiac output. So I guess I refer to the number of 75 at that point in time, 75 being 75% of their maximum heart rate being maintained. That's just a general ballpark safe number to have them at initially here. 75% for about, I'd say 25, maybe 30 minutes. Second half of that question
Gotcha.
is definitely interesting as well because, whoa, wow, hang on for a second. I forgot that second part. My,
So the second question was, if I'm doing 55 to 60 minutes of fasted cardio in the morning, would
absolutely.
I jeopardize burning in the muscle if I do cardio later on in the day? So if I'm
Absolutely.
somebody that
So
says, look, I got a shit ton of fat I got to get off of me, and I'm trying to get as much going in the quickest time as possible. So here we go. I feel like I should do fasted cardio, and I feel like I should do some more in the afternoon, and I feel like I should do some more in the evening. Is that am I jeopardizing anything, or what is that? How does that look?
right. So there are a few more meticulous things to be explained about the science of cardio, especially considering the idea of it being fasted, and in the fat burning zone. But, you're right. When it comes to someone wanting to do or expedite fat burn, the body still must be able to function because the body does need fuel to function. So if you don't give the body or replenish the body of what it needs to go forward with that cardio session, then you are actually going to be creating damage. So I would encourage that person to pull those cardio sessions apart from one another. Of course, pulling them apart from one another gives you time to replenish the body from the previous cardio session, but also prepare for the upcoming cardio session.
There you go. There you go. So, is there a certain heart rate one should try to stay within? So I know you said
Um,
75% for somebody like our mothers, or somebody who doesn't have a cardiovascular that's pretty much up to par, and somebody that's on a higher level, or more acclimated with working out. Someone like myself would probably be in between 80, 85. So for somebody who can't really gauge that percentage, is there a certain heart rate somebody should stay at to make sure that they're maintaining the fat burn?
Yeah, we oftentimes, let's talk about Americans. We like to hear, binary numbers. We like to hear straight formulas to kind of fit ourselves within. And this is unfortunately here not going to be one of those situations where we can do that. But I will tell you this, the talk test is a great way of doing that. The talk test means, and I stand next to a treadmill while I'm having a client doing a session of cardio, is as that person is continuing on over time, they should find themselves, not laboring for breath, but not easily holding conversation with me. That means I'm pushing that person towards that zone whereby they are safe to be, they are safely, pushing their cardiac, but they're also at the same time not too far under the exertion I'm trying to create on that system. So again, the talk test is simply right here as we're starting to do our cardio session. I'm going to ask you a few questions here, and based on how you can talk back with me, tells me how hard I'm pushing you. I don't want to have you again completely laboring or panting, trying to talk back to me, but you shouldn't be freely just holding a conversation about local politics during this cardio session.
Sweet. So, outside of that, Ron, anything else you want to, talk about and get these people on board, or you want to give some ways for people that can, give us some topics that we can possibly talk about? But I'm really interested in coming up with a dope name for our podcast. Like I really want to have a dope name for our podcast, and I think the more involvement that we get on the podcast, and the more eyes on it, and the more, or I shouldn't say eyes, more ears on it, and also bringing some people to interview and to the platform. I think that also be dope. But
yeah, definitely so, man. There's so many factors that come into health and fitness. So many ways of going about it. We did, I use a broad brush stroke when I'm referring to things like cardio, but I didn't refer to explicit types of cardio. For instance, some have a preference of cycling, right? Lance Armstrong was a pro cyclist. He apparently loved cycles. So if I was to talk to Lance Armstrong, he'd probably tell me cardio is the best way to, for him to do it because he likes to cycle. You yourself, are someone with pretty good rhythm. You know what I mean? Someone with a good athletic ability. So, being upright, doing certain types of cardio that gets your heart rate elevated, but at the same time, though, keep you excited because you're able to, jug, cut a rug every now and again, if you will. Keep everybody else moving along with you as a way you like doing it. Me and you also like playing basketball, didn't we? So we played basketball as a version of getting our cardiovascular exercising. So, asking me, you, and Lance Armstrong, you'll get 3 different answers of how to go about that one. But no matter what they chose, make sure they can, as you always say, stick to it is the best way to go about that, right? Or even someone who goes on to doing something like your strength training, what's the best way to go about that? Well, it depends. Some people just prefer machines. Some people with existing injuries like to have machines, and some like to use old school dumbbells. At any rate, you're right. Definitely talk with more people about what they prefer to get their job done. We'll make sure that all of our listeners are empowered with multiple options on how to go about doing what they want to do to accomplish, key number 1 and key number 2.
There you go. So definitely, man, appreciate your time, today on this podcast. We didn't want to
this
run
was
it
fun, man.
too
We
long,
do our thing.
But I think for the first one to open up with just the things that a lot of people are interested in, a lot of information and value, and a little bit of education on what is needed to get to that second level or level up on your fitness and your health journey is what we kind of discussed today. So we'll do this once a week as of now. If we definitely get some people interested and some ears on it and some good feedback, I think we can start adding more days to it. Me personally, I would like to get it to a point to where it's something we're damn near doing every day. I like to get on here and talk and joke around and just talk overall fitness and health, because it's definitely something I have a passionate interest in, and I'm pretty sure you feel the same way. But definitely, man, thanks for doing this and getting on, and we got some more coming up. And if you guys have any type of topics, that we can talk about, we'll definitely be open to taking that information in consideration and plugging it into the podcast. But definitely, guys, if you guys have some unique branding names for myself and Ron on this podcast, we are definitely open to that. And thank you guys for your time.
Absolutely. Peace out.
Peace.